All right, what's good, everybody? I cannot be more excited about the next guest that I'm having on right now. If you've been following this channel at all, you know I'm a huge fan of this guy. It's an honor to have him on board. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Names on stage, got the whole crowd bouncing. Talking about the king of kings, of what we
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Chris Crawley with Desire for Iron Fitness on the YouTube today. If you've been following me for any length of time, you've heard me speak about Rico van Huizen. I've been mispronouncing his name for forever because I'm an American and I was calling him Rico van Huizen for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. But if you followed my channel for even a minute, you know that I've spoken about Rico a lot. Rico van Huizen, it is an honor to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. The floor is yours. Please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you very much, Chris, the Cleveland Oak, for being such an amazing guy, first and foremost. We have been in contact for a very long time, and, keep doing what you're doing, man. I highly respect that. A little bit about myself, and then we quit about talking about myself. Rico, a dad of almost 3 kids. Been doing natural bodybuilding for now almost 17 years. Been competing from the age of 17. I'm now 32, so been quite a journey. Done some documentaries. I'm Natural Bodybuilder, and this year we're getting back on stage again to kick some ass again and make the second documentary. Online coach. Helping a lot of people all around the world, and keep changing the world in a good sense, making especially the young generation, clear that you can do this without stuff. It's all about longevity, man.
Amen. Well, that's the first question I want to ask. You said you've been doing this for 17 years. So you were started as a teenager. What kept you away from the allure of perhaps going down to the dark side? Because obviously the bigger paydays are in like the IFBB shows.
So, to cut the long story short, I was still in an era, and I will show you. On that wall, there's a big lamp, but behind that lamp, there's Arnold Schwarzenegger. And there's also Bruce Lee. We got Rocky, we got, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I lived in the best era of life because we had heroes.
Right.
And when I was 12, I was drawing a lot with my mother. She could draw a lot of nice pictures. Things like Dragon Ball Z, Goku with his big muscles. But that was all cartoon. And basically after that, she was drawing Arnold Schwarzenegger one time. But that was a real guy. And I was saying to my mom, who the hell is that? And I went to the gym already with my father, just joining him as a little kid, fumbling around with the weights. And my dad showed me the pumping iron video. And I was totally hooked. I said to myself, I want to be like that man. And I was already familiar with Arnold Schwarzenegger from the Terminator and all that stuff. So another hero. And then I turned into a little bit of the bodybuilding side of things. I started to look Mr. Olympia. And by the age of 15 and a half, I started to do fitness. And prior to that, I was always involved with martial arts. Got my black belt in that eventually at a young age. And then I stopped doing that. And I had to do something with my life because for 6 months, I was not doing sports. And to cut the story a little bit shorter, it was when I was doing my first show at 17 years old, without knowing that anabolic steroids was a thing. So all the pictures that I saw, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler in the gym, and all those big guys in the gym, I thought really that it was protein shakes, a pre-workout called No Explode, eating a lot, and training hard. And then I did that first show, and someone came to me and said, Rico, those guys you are seeing here behind the stage, those guys you're seeing in the gym, they are using stuff. And I was like, wow, what are you telling me? So in a sense, it was a shock to me because I thought Arnold was natural in a sense, right? Because I didn't know of anabolic steroids. And that's when really things started to turn. And I said to myself, never ever in my life will I do something to the dark side, because I came back from a martial arts background, and there it was clearly, and it was simple. If you're not training hard enough, you get kicked in the butt, right?
Right.
And it was all about hard work. And all those people who were telling me, but Rico, you can't get big or muscular because it's not possible doing it naturally. You have to use. And then I would tell to myself, as Bruce Lee being my hero, how could it be that Bruce Lee looks like a freaking machine, a lean machine? He's not the biggest, but he has muscles.
Right.
And if he has muscles, I know I can grow them. That was basically already the decision that I'm never going to get into that way. When I was telling my dad that I was going to do bodybuilding and I wanted to do shows, he said to me, Rico, if you're going to touch one of these substances once in your life, I'm going to kick your legs from your body, seriously. And I don't want to mess with my dad, right? And he knew that there's a dark side of bodybuilding because he is in the security world, and a lot of security guards use anabolic steroids to look big. So he knew already, oh, my son is going to the incorrect path because he's going to be involved with anabolic steroids without me even noticing it. So that's the story why I never get in touch and never thought about it doing it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And so your documentary, I Am Natural Bodybuilder, what inspired you to do that movie? By the way, if you haven't watched it yet, I'll put a link in the show notes. Watch it right after this.
Do it. It's going to be amazing. And the second one's going to be crazy. So the I'm Natural Bodybuilder, why I did that was I was seeing a lot of guys around me, even friends, that were taking the stuff. And I was like, dude, why in the world would you be doing that? And then along the years, I saw even younger people getting in touch with these substances. So I was like, damn, what is happening with the world? I'm going to show the world that it can be done naturally, no matter what. And that was basically the whole purpose of the documentary, to show the people that it is possible. Of course, it's about competition and being completely shredded and the struggles and all that things that comes with it. But the essence of it is that you can achieve a crazy physique without the use of performance-enhancing drugs or steroids. That was the main purpose.
Outstanding. Well, it is a great documentary. I know when I was going through my physical transformation, when I was doing my hour-long cardio sessions, that would be one of the first movies that would come up just to keep my mind focused. So thank you for putting that out there. One thing I noticed on both your Instagram and your YouTube and everything else is some of the food that you can put down and still maintain a really nice physique. I gained 5 pounds just by watching you with some of the things you're able to eat. So can you give people a breakdown of your diet and how it is you are actually able to enjoy some of the foods that those of us who are in the bodybuilding world would say, oh my gosh, I can't touch that. I'll gain 60 pounds tomorrow.
Absolutely. First, let me close my window because there are helicopters flying above.
Okay.
So basically, the reason why I can eat whatever I want is not because I'm a dude that can eat a ton of calories. In fact, I'm sitting the whole day. I'm pretty sedentary. And, it all comes down to tracking your stuff. Tracking your stuff. Even now I'm pretty serious again because I'm getting into a contest. But if you've been tracking for a very long time and you have to weigh your food, looking at it every single time, you can now gauge with a pretty right eye what's on your plate. And once you have that trained eye, it becomes automatically that what you see is, exactly approximately how much protein it is. It's funny because sometimes I'm just playing a game with myself. I have an apple in my hand and I would say, well, based on the size of it, it's approximately 175 grams. I will put it on a weighing scale and it's 175 grams. It's crazy. So I have a very trained eye. Therefore, because I've been doing that hard work before, like for almost 1.5 years, tracking diligently, which is not even a hard thing to do, to be honest. Because of that, I can go whenever I'm not into a season of contest and being serious. I do everything as what they call ad libitum. Ad libitum dieting is whenever you are not tracking anything. You're just looking by the food and actually kind of calculating in your head. But because you have seen so much food and you understand food, even when you go and eat out, you know how to deal with these situations. And that's the reason why I can maintain the physique pretty much whole year round. And yes, of course, I have slipped many times as well, because there are certain times I just like to enjoy more food. I have more restaurant visits and all that stuff. But I know also how to come back, right? So it all comes down to tracking. If you've seen my Instagram for the past few days, I've been making crazy burgers, and all of that is tracked. The most important thing is my kids are eating the same burgers as well, and I'm making them, but we have separate pans. One is weighted off for me, and the other one is for the kids. Just make it. So you don't have to even give up family time or quality time, at the dinner table. You can eat the same thing. Just track it.
Outstanding. Now that's another thing that you're mentioning, having children. Both of my children are grown. I'm almost old enough to be your father. But they're grown, so I don't have the challenges that someone who's maybe starting to think to themselves, I really should get in shape because I am a father. It can be challenging. What are some pointers that you would give them to help along their journey so they can be a more fit father, to be honestly just a better provider?
So what do you like me to say in the sense of like kind of overall
Well,
picture?
yeah, I mean, because obviously there's going to be some challenges. I mean, you have a newborn, you have a younger one, or you got a newborn coming along the way. What are some of the things that when that came into your life, some challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
So basically, when the first newborn was coming, all things are new. You're not going to be 100% exact. In fact, you're going to stop training. That's the reality. Because you first want to enjoy the new experience. In a sense, is not really enjoying because all of this is not a lot of sleep and getting up in the nights. So you try to find your way, and you let life slip. That's the common thing that I see with people who are becoming a dad for the first time. Now, after that period, they become a dad bod, gain some significant fat mass. And then eventually I will talk to them because I have a lot of people inside the coaching that have this problem. And basically, whenever that first period is done, you get right back in. You just go to the gym, start with that. You don't have to watch your food. If you're going to the gym, you automatically start watching your food a little bit. Because otherwise you're wasting your time inside the gym, and you're not going to do that. So you're automatically going to watch food that you're going to eat. So first start with that. And right now with the second child, they just go with the flow. There's no hassle. And the same goes for the third one. Yes, there will be some new structures going to be happening. I'm 1 month out from getting my third one. So there's a new situation, a new structure needed. But that structure, because I'm already familiar with that, I can make quick changes and then eventually just keep doing what I'm going to do. And what a lot of people, what I think a lot of men struggle with is that they tend to have a feeling that they are letting go their wife and have to deal with the kid on their own. But that's not what your wife is thinking about. Let me tell you, your wife is thinking about that you are, because they are going to be mom for quite some time. They have to be with a little baby. So they want that to be good again, fit again. Because if you're not, she will eventually say to you when time passes, Where's my old man that I once fell in love with, right? Come on, go back to the gym, do something about yourself. And a lot of men and dads are not taking that step until they hear the honest word from the wife.
Right.
And they will see it also back in the sleeping room, in bed, because eventually there's no attraction anymore. Right?
Right.
So I don't know if that really answered the question in a sense, but it is really simple. Just come back. Literally just come back, do your thing, get the structure in, get your macros. Just get back into the gym as quickly as possible. You will see how much greater you will feel.
No, that answered the question fully. I'm going to interject there and talk in my own personal experience. When my children were young, we would be active. I would take them to, we did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we did boxing, judo, and a couple other classes. While I was active, I also just ate whatever I wanted, because that was also back in the day where there was like marketing out there that if you did 100 kettlebell swings, you could eat whatever you want and you weren't going to gain weight. I kept believing that, even though the scale and the mirror told me a completely different story. All right. So if I can interject on this and tell the men out there, yes, it is about looking good naked, but it's also about being healthy and not making it a point where your children are going to have to take care of you. My father, I was following in his footsteps. I love my dad. I mean, no disrespect, but his health is declined to the point where he's only 72 years old and can't function hardly at all. And men, you owe it to your wives, you owe it to your children to not put them in that situation. There might be some things beyond your control. You might get in a car accident, something like that. But the things you can control, this is your wake-up call. Start taking control of them right now.
Absolutely. And that's exactly the way that I'm seeing it as well, Chris. This is also the message that I often put out through the social medias. And it's literally the following question. If tomorrow is a war going to happen and every single thing, there's chaos and you need to be providing for your family, are you able to do that? Are you in a strong position, in a fit body position to move your kids? Or are you huffing and puffing within the first few steps that you're going to get out of the house? Because if that's the case, you're done. Survival rates drop drastically. And there's a lot of people that will eventually say, it's not going to happen. Well, you never know. Because the people in the World War and the Second World War also thought it's not going to happen. And out of a sudden, there was a war.
Right.
So be prepared, folks. And it doesn't have to be compared with war at all. What about kids? Let's say your kids are growing up and now you have a daughter or a son, whatever the case may be, and they're 18 years old and they're enjoying life and do all crazy stuff that they should be doing, experience life as it is. And you're now weighing in 300 pounds sitting on a couch and your son calls you in the night, Dad, you need to help me. I'm in big trouble. And are you able to do that? Are you able to provide that help? And this is really the thing that I am so motivated about. I actually don't call it motivation because eventually this is the drive that it's within me to provide for my kids and family. Because I've seen many people who are not able to provide for their family when times get tough. Really.
Oh yeah, for sure. And well, I mean, the past couple of years have shown us, when we had, I don't want to say anything about, but basically what it boiled down to was we had a very challenging life over the past couple of years. And, being physically able to provide was almost like a necessity, because you never knew if it was going to get to the point where you couldn't go to the grocery stores to get your food. You were going to have to. Right. I mean, thankfully, it didn't get to that point in most of the world, but it could have. And so exercise is just so fundamental. What do you think are the more important things someone should do when they're just starting to take up a fitness journey?
The most important thing when it comes down to starting the fitness journey is not just starting. Yes, that's a very important step because it's the first step of a 1,000-mile journey. but at the same time, educate yourself clearly. And many people nowadays don't have the time to do that, or they think they don't have the time. So at least get a correct coach from day number one. That would be really my advice, because the amount of people I see in the gym, even the youngsters, the older, the elderly, doesn't matter, how they are so inefficiently training their body to get a result. No shit, they're going to get on the dark side because they're doing it totally wrong. And nowadays, getting a coach, a good coach, is, you can find them, pretty much in every country worldwide. Really get yourself a coach, because eventually that will save you many times, many time overall in trying to find it yourself, how to deal with it. And he cuts down to the bullshit if you have a good coach, right? And then the next question would be, how do you find a good coach? Well, that's a really hard one, because eventually you're gonna make mistakes, and a good coach, eventually you will see have them success, and you hear people talk about them, and eventually just meet with the person, have a conversation with that person. How interested is that coach in you, or is he just selling his stuff? But start with a coach. That would be my number one when somebody is willing to try and change their health.
Outstanding. Well, you already said some of it, the good qualities that you're looking for in a coach, and that would be one that definitely shows that they cares about you and everything else. What would you say people should avoid when they're looking for a coach?
Good question. I would say what people should avoid is when the coach is, in a sense, not explaining the things to you. So whenever you are, this is a shit test to whenever you want to get a coach. When you get a coach and you talk to one to maybe work with them, you're gonna ask them some strategic questions. You're gonna ask them, can you explain a little bit how much protein I should take in? And if they're just gonna say, well, 1.8. If that coach is just spitting that out, I would be very wary about that. If the coach is going to say 1.8 because this, and this, and this, hey, that's going to make sense. Now the coach is explaining you. He's actually coaching. He's not just spitting out what you should be doing, right? So it's a little education that comes with it to dissect the good coaches between the bad coaches. And you are going to ask them difficult questions. I always say this to people that I speak with signing up for the coaching. In the first call, I will say to them, listen, you need to be critical. I want you to send in questions as much as possible every single week. The more you ask, the more you will learn. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I know I can answer the questions. If your coach is not willing to do that, then you might be scratching your head, because maybe that coach doesn't really know how to get it done, right? And this is kind of a shit test how to avoid working with the bad coaches. And, eventually stay away from people who trying to sell a certain method to be the number one, because everyone is different. Some people might be good with intermittent fasting. Some people might be good with flexible dieting. And not all people are good with flexible dieting. Some people need structure, simplicity, right? So you need a coach who is diverse in his toolboxes that he can use. So therefore, it becomes really hard when one coach is a specialist in intermittent fasting or something like that, to go with that. I think you need to have a coach that can do multiple things to solve your problem, because everyone's going to have different problems along the way.
Outstanding. Yes. Intermittent fasting is a great tool. I can't stand it because I ended up binge eating when I'm finally done with my fasting window, but I know it's effective for the right people. Now, we were talking earlier, we were talking about efficiency. time management is probably one of the more challenging things for the super dads. Okay. We can't be in the gym necessarily 2-3 hours a day trying to do some German volume training or whatever Arnold puts in his encyclopedia of bodybuilding. So how do you feel is the best use of your time when you're in the gym?
Um, Depends on the programming, of course. Depends on the experience as well, because the more experience you will get, the more stuff you will need to be doing. But for time efficiency, I would say that you need to be staying away from, in that case, if time is really, really important, stay away from the bench press, overhead press, bent over rows, stuff like that, because it's taxing the system a lot. And therefore the output for the assistant work or the isolation movements is less. So what I would rather do is just choose isolation work, superset those. And through the superset, you will save a lot of time. So that would be my thing. And the other recommendation that I have is stay away from full body workouts. I have a lot of people, busy people, who want to start with a 3-day full body day, or a 3-day full body in a week. But as it is a full body, you're training all musculature, and therefore they're in the gym at least for 2 hours. And I would say to them, if time is becoming a problem, then we need to go at least to 4 times a week. Then we can split up body parts, and you will see that your training can be done in 1 hour instead of 2 hours. Yes, you go 1 time extra, but eventually you will be less in the gym. And if we're splitting that up, 4 times 1 hour is 4 hours in total in a week, and 3 times full body at 2 hours each is 6 hours. So you automatically save time. Right?
Yes, for sure. And then also, folks, make health a habit, man. When you go into the grocery store, park a little bit further away, so you got to walk a couple more 100 yards to get to the door. It all adds up. You know what I mean? It's not just what happens in the gym. What happens outside the gym is going to help you with your health and fitness journey as well. Natural Bodybuilder 2.0. What can you give us a little bit of a preview of what you're going to be doing on this documentary?
Oh, Chris, you're going to be the first one to hear about it. So Natural Bodybuilder 2.0. Maybe I'm going to name it differently, not in the sense that I'm Natural Bodybuilder will stay, but like as the Terminator has different episodes, right?
Right.
Maybe instead of the 2.0, do it something different like that, but we'll see. Natural Bodybuilding 2.0 will eventually be a kind of a comeback from a long period, no preparation. But it's going to be done in a documentary style film with professionals who are going to film that. And it's really going to be a Netflix quality movie. And the way I see it is that I'm going to bring it more like a philosophical movie, and that really taps into the thinking mind during contest preparation. Right, so what comes with it, the things that you have to do and to go through, and really making a movie out of it, instead of just the real deal and just shoot and run and whatever happens, put it on the camera. That will eventually happen as well, but this one will be more emotional in a sense, because I want to touch the hearts of the people, because if we can do that, we can open their eyes. And once we can open their eyes, they can see that it can be done naturally, right? Yes. So that's a little bit of a glimpse that I'm going to do. Other than that, it's going to be just going to the stage again. Everything that needs to be done with prepping and stuff like that. But it's going to be more of a motivational kind of a movie.
Outstanding. Well, which contest are you planning on doing? Out there in Europe, or are you coming to the States?
I am starting the 23rd of September in the Netherlands. That's the first one, because we got finally a WNBF. So that's amazing. I think that's the best natural bodybuilding organization out there. I've been in many, natural bodybuilding organizations and the way they are going, I get chills about it whenever I'm seeing it. So the first one is in the Netherlands. Then, depending if I'm becoming a pro over there, I will see if I'm going to do some shows in Europe still. Because once you're turning pro, you are not allowed to get on the amateur shows in different countries, which is obvious. And if United States, Joe Biden allows to open the borders for the
Right.
you know what,
Yes.
then I will be visiting the United States for the World Championships. Yes.
All
So
right.
that's the plan. And if that's not going to happen, well, at least the documentary still is going to happen. And then it will be the Europe tour that we will be doing. But eventually the goal is to get a pro card.
Outstanding. Well, you're already a pro as far as I'm concerned. And I'll put this out there. You come out to the States. I know it's quite a damn big country, and I live in Cleveland, but I'll find a way to get out there. And after you're done, we'll drink a little bit of whiskey and eat some steaks and everything else. We'll have a good time.
We'll do.
It's going to be an honor. Now, you mentioned that WNBF is your favorite organization. What are some of the problems that you're seeing with a lot of the different natural organizations that need to be fixed?
What I'm seeing is that they're always chasing the money. And I've seen it with Muscle Mania, where I started. And it was all about the show, to sell the show. And therefore, we had these crazy people. Charles Soon, we had Ulysses, all these guys. And they were the superstars of that organization. They were attracting tons of people to the shows. Big cash, right? And then I transitioned to the INBA, PNBA organization. Because in a sense, they were the most loud about their natural status. They were WADA tested, stuff like that.
Right.
And once I was going to the shows in 2015 of the documentary that you have seen, I was getting tested. I was peeing. I was blood tested. I never got the results back. So to a degree, we paid for that. Every single athlete, we got tested, and we didn't got the results back. Everyone who is a natural bodybuilder, getting tested, want to receive the papers to show people in the face, look at this, man. I'm natty. I know it's not the one thing to prove that you're a natural, but you will want to have that. Right. And I think it's also a thing that an organization should be doing. So I was like, okay, right, but we'll leave it for that, and we just keep doing it. Then Generation Iron 4 came about the natural bodybuilding. Right. And they are putting forward this guy, Rob Terry, as the guy, the Mr. Natural Olympia. And I only have to put his name into Google, which I also did on my YouTube channel, reviewing the documentary. And I was like, if a natural organization is willing to put a WWE wrestler before in one of their top guys, their superstars, then we are heading in the wrong direction, because it's not realistic. And we have tons of people watching, tons of kids watching, and that does something with my heart. I'm always very, very close to the organizations that I'm competing with, because I like to provide help to grow the community of natural bodybuilding. So in a sense, it is hurting me to see that. And I know there's this other organization existing for 30 years or more. It's a WNBF. And they had this extra thing like polygraph testing. Not that they are 100% reliable, but they are now testing through drugs analysis. They are testing off-season. I just got tested off-season, right? So they are doing that. I never saw that with the other organizations. They are telling you that they are doing that. They're not doing it. With WMBF, I experienced the first time that I was going to visit a kind of a workshop of the organization in the Netherlands. They said, Rico, get tested. And I had to pee, right? So that was off-season testing, the drugs testing on itself, which shows, and the polygraph, where they are getting a professional in-house that is a highly valued detective in a professional organization. They are not affiliated with the organization itself. They hire them, and they cost something like 7,000 euros or US dollars. They are very expensive. And they do the polygraph testing. And there's actually a lot of people who fail that testing. So they're doing absolutely everything in their power to exclude to people, to make it not so attractive to still compete and trying to win as a fake natty, right? That to me is important. This is how I'm selecting the organizations. And therefore, I'm happy that we now have the Netherlands as well. And this might all change, but it all comes down to the amount of cash a organization can make, and people are willing to step outside the boundaries to go a little further.
Right. That one thing that, going into this whole world of bodybuilding, I always loved the sport. And then I decided when I was 45, I'm not getting any younger. It's time to dive into it. Steroids was not even in my mind to do, mainly because, one, my job, if I were to get caught with it, I'd lose my job. Second, I was already having health problems. So the idea of using something that could give me more health problems just wasn't even in the process. And when I learned that there were natural organizations, I was sold. I just don't understand why somebody would get into the sport of natural bodybuilding, not be natural, when there's so many other organizations out there that couldn't care less. So I don't care if somebody's using this stuff or not. That's between them and God. But I do care if you're going to be a liar about it. Just own it. Use the stuff. Go to the NPC. No one's going to care.
And the thing is, Chris, that with everything in life, we have people who want to have the easiest route.
Right.
This is the nature of human. And therefore, we have these people that think, I can fake it till I make it. But there's absolutely one thing that I'm 100% sure of. I don't care if somebody right next to me is becoming first, knowing that he has used. What I know for sure is when he goes to lay his head on his pillow in the night, going to bed rest, he always will be having the thought in his head, I faked this. This will be a ghost for a lifetime. So they are putting themselves in a situation where they are creating this ghost around them, and it's actually going to hurt them, right? They don't have restless nights. I have peaceful nights, because I know I am 100% doing the thing that I need to be doing, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's up to them.
Amen. Amen. So, all right, we're basically, the date of this video right now is January 11th. So we're sort of getting into where some of the people who have made their New Year's resolutions to get in shape, they're going to start tapering off. What can you say? What advice can you give to this person to stick it out and keep going?
All right. The advice will eventually be the same. Start it with a coach. Do it the right way. Forget about all these programs and quick fixes. Forget about all the pills and the whistles. Get a coach. Just put in the work. Put in the hard work. Earn it. 100%. Earn it. Right? Therefore, you have to put in the work. But there's one other thing that I want to tell, and eventually we are going to talk about it in a sense that people get a grasp of it, what happened the last 2 years. The amount of people that I've seen dying, the amount of people around me that have seen other people dying, what the research is clearly saying, that's the people who were dying in the very first phase of this thing that we have lived through the last couple, now 3 years.
Right.
was that the comorbidity, if you had comorbidities, then those people were the highest chance to die. And all those people who died had all kinds of comorbidities. They counted it as a blah, 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 blah death, but they all had comorbidities. There were almost no healthy persons in there, in that whole study and that whole database, that were totally healthy. These people had all multiple comorbidities, diabetes, overweight, all these things. If this has not opened your eyes, and eventually the media will not tell you, if this has not opened your eyes how important it is to be in a strong position, to be healthy internally, right? Because mentally we had a drain, all of it, all of us.
Yes.
But we deal with that. That's fine. We deal with many things in life that will be hard. Losing a loved one will be hard for the mind, the mental game. But that's something we can, forgive and forget. But your body, if you're in the most optimal health condition, strong as possible, no comorbidities, you will survive during these crazy times. It's clearly what the data has said. And therefore, if this is not opening your eyes, that you should be starting right now, because it might be too late. And don't think, oh, I'm just 35 years old. Because the thing for the last 3 years that killed a lot of people doesn't care about your age. What it do care about is your internal health. What it does care about is if you're overweight, obese, diabetes, have comorbidities, because right now you're in a position that death can be very, very close to you. This is the only thing that I have to say. And if I think people should be reflecting to the last 3 years and actually see what happened and what kind of people died. The amount of people that I've seen dying on the Mr. Olympia stage is shocking. And I'm not talking about the top people who are doing sports like soccer and all those guys, right? I'm talking about the Mr. Olympia bodybuilders. The reason why a lot of people have died in that space, in my opinion, is because they have been using a lot of stuff. They are not healthy. Those Mr. Olympia bodybuilders are not healthy. Their heart has grown. The organs have grown. They have comorbidities all the way. So they're the perfect example why a lot of people have died because of not being healthy internally, even though looking massive and muscular. This is all about natural. This is all about being strong, just as Mother Nature has put it out for us, right? Sorry for the long run.
No. I wanted you to. I'm glad you said all of that. So I know you got to get ready to feed the children. It's a little bit later out there in Netherlands than it is in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm still.
We have 30 minutes. We have
30 minutes. Okay, outstanding. Okay, so we covered the benefits of the natural world. So now on social media, on the internet, everything is like so cut and dry. You can't have a variance of an opinion. I mean, like you have people that are carnivore 100%, and then you get on a carnivore page and say how you like steak and eggs, and you also like a little bit of asparagus. Now, next thing you know, you've got 30 people calling you a heretic and telling you you're going to go to hell because you, God forbid, had some, vegetables along with your diet. Same goes along with the bodybuilding world. You got the people that say you got to do 20 sets per body part, and then other people saying you got to take just one set to failure 9 days, every 9 days. Where do you find is probably the more the reality? I mean, is it more of an intensity thing? Is it more of a volume thing? Is there a middle ground? What is your best advice towards the trainings?
Towards the trainings, all right, good one. They always say out of the two extremes, probably the middle is the truth, right? So it is all these components together. However, when we look at the research, yes, there is a clear winner, and which is frequency. The amount of times you're hitting a muscle. You can have a ton of volume. Let's say you're putting 10,000 kilos weight lifted on the bicep on just one day. All right. But if you're just training that bicep for one day, or you split that 10,000 kilogram or tonnage spread over multiple times in a week, then frequency wins. So in a sense, frequency is king, but you don't overdo it. And then people start thinking, well, then I will be training my biceps 7 days a week. No. You also need to be resting, right? So in a sense, frequency is the key. And how to eventually influence the volume and recover properly. Yes, these are all things that comes with it. But just to give you a blunt answer, is frequency.
What does your training split look like then for a week in the life of Rico van Huizen?
My training split currently is 5 days, and it's consisting of a lower body day where we are focusing more on the hamstrings part musculature. And then we have an upper body day where we are focusing on, the points that I am pretty weak in a visual point as a bodybuilding standpoint. So we are looking to improve certain areas of the chest. We're looking to improve the triceps and some parts of the delts. And then on the next day, we have arms. And by the way, I have a coach, so I have a totally new program than I would be used to be doing. But I learned a ton. I'm doing arms separately. So there's all the volume in one day. Then I have a rest day. Then I go into the second training of lower body. That will be more quad dominant. And then I have another upper body day that's going to look more into the other parts of other muscles. So all muscles will be hit. And based on that, whenever we are trying, for example, on a first lower body day, we are focusing on the hamstrings and we are doing deadlifts and we are putting a lot of volume in those beginning exercises to overload it, to give it the volume that it needs to grow. So basically that. And the exercises actually have changed a lot since I'm having a coach. And the reason being is if they have looked at the data that, for example, I was doing a lot of bench, overhead press, bent over rows. I was pretty strong in it and I really like it. But my coach said, cut the bullshit. You have to be doing more efficient work. Because doing a bench press, there's so many joints involved that we cannot put that, let's say 100 kilograms only on the chest fibers. So whenever we're training, we have to think about that. It's all about working on the fibers. And this is where I have made the mistake for pretty much 16 years because I'm now almost with the coach for 4 months, 3 months, I guess, whatever. And he told me, and those coaches told me, Rico, we are not working the chest. We are working certain fibers in the chest. So let's say the lower pack, the medial pack, the upper pack. And yes, we all notice that this exists. Therefore, we're doing inclines and stuff like that. But if you're really going to grasp that concept, that you are working on fibers, we try to change muscle fibers, right? Then training becomes very specific. And it's kind of crazy because if you think of training in that way, then you would not be, if you're trying to grow a bigger chest, well, which part of the chest? Is the middle part, is more the upper part, right? And now you're start to look into, okay, what is the best exercise to hit that pack and those muscle fibers? The bench is not going to do it for it because there are so many joints involved. Taking away of that 100 kilogram of tonnage you're going to do on the bench press. Yes, you think, I have a 100 kilogram bench, bro. But actually, maybe 20 kilograms of that 100 kilograms goes to the triceps. The other 20 kilograms goes to the front delt. And maybe 60 kilograms effectively is going on the chest, divided over all 3 heads of the chest muscle. So how much are you really doing in that part you're trying to grow? Was a big eye opener for me. But that's a little bit the program that I have right now.
Outstanding. As a bodybuilder over the past, well, you've been in martial arts, and then now you've been in bodybuilding for almost 2 decades. What are some of the lessons that you've gotten from bodybuilding that you've been able to apply to your life? Because I know you have an actual 9 to 5 job, and you're also a businessman. So obviously, you've had to learn how to do all of those things. Has bodybuilding been able to help you become better at those facets of life as well?
100%. 100%. It showed me that if you just staying consistent in whatever you're doing, putting in the time, something will grow out of it. And you have to stay with the process, right? It's the same reason that all right. So I'm going to make the documentary this year. I'm going to compete again. Yes, it's fun to have competitions going. It's fun to make a documentary. It's fun to maybe win, but that's all icing on the cake. The real cake is that I'm doing a contest preparation to mentally challenge myself, get myself into a position where I know that from the competition in 2015 that I did, I'm becoming a lot more philosophical anyway. I'm thinking about life much more in that situation that I'm 5% body fat than I would be now fat and happy. And I want that struggle. I want to persevere, because if I can do that, then life becomes a challenge again. Right? So I'm using it because we are not, let's be honest, Chris, nowadays we are not getting a lot of challenges. Or decades ago, decennia ago, millennials ago, whatever, we were hunting for our food, right? And the tiger might be around the corner of the tree chasing us. And we don't have these things nowadays. And therefore, I'm using content preparation to initiate the same survival thing. It's pure mindset. It's pure mindset. So I rambled on and I forgot your question. But yeah, that was the learning lesson. And overall, in my whole life, I've applied bodybuilding in every single thing to put in 100%. That's the process. And eventually you will get what you want. That's it.
Love it. Now we've seen folks, get into bodybuilding, and perhaps they start. How I put this? You'll see people that just like they're paying their entry fee, and they're just not ready for it. You saw my particular story, like in 2019, the first time I got up on a stage, I was in no shape to be up on stage. However, had I not done that, it wouldn't have gotten me to where I'm at today. And even though I'm by no means a perfect athlete by any stretch of the word, I'm going to keep doing this until I'm like 100 years old. Until God puts me in the ground, I'm going to keep doing this. But to avoid the humiliation, what would you say someone should do when they're thinking about competing and they really aren't where they want to be yet?
When people come to me and they want to do a show, the first thing is what I ask them is, okay, do you want to win? And if the answer is yes, if you are a person that is driven to win and you are just starting off, I recommend you not doing shows. Try to build that body over a period of 4 to 5 years and then get on the stage. If the person answers, I'm not here to win, I'm here just doing it for myself, and want to have the experience, the whole journey, then I would have that person come in and say, well, let's get it done. So it's more a perspective thing, and not per se, you were, like you said, you were probably not in the best shape of your life getting on that stage, and you said that you probably had nothing, you shouldn't be there in a sense. But what you also said is if you have not been there, experiencing that, you probably would have not proceeded with doing shows or bodybuilding, right?
Right.
And I think it was more about the journey in that case, just experiencing all the things, no matter what shape you are. But it was planting a seed. But if you are very driven and not really realistic in the sense, because if you really think you're going to win at the bodybuilding show number one, forget about it. You should forget about it. The first show should all be, experience fun. I know my first show when I was 17, I was put into a class that was one of the highest classes in the juniors. There were, I think, 4 or 5 classes within the juniors, and I was put into the runner-up from the highest. And I was like, wow, what the hell? That's crazy. Because I'm just 17 years old. I'm putting so high on the line, and I became last. I became the last one. I became 4th out of the 4 people right next to me. But I was having a blast. I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the journey, and all that was happening, all was new, and it didn't matter. Next time, 2 years later, I became 2nd of the Netherlands, right? It was the same show. So it is all about, whenever you're going to compete and you're not 100%, that's okay. Make sure you're enjoying the journey. Just love everything around about it. The other people, meeting new people. And this is what you really can do with natural bodybuilding, because in the other side of the sport, you will always have grunting people around you. They're always looking very, very mad, and don't bother me. I'm here on my own. On a natural bodybuilding show, everyone is a friend because we understand each other's struggles. It's literally a family.
Yes.
So yeah, I hope that answered.
It sure did. It sure did. I was going to ask you what the best advice you can give to somebody, and you already did. Just enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. It's honestly, you're not going to regret. No one ever regrets getting into shape, so just go with it and love the journey, love the process. So where can folks follow you and reach out to you for your coaching, or just follow you along on your different social medias?
They can. I'm mostly active on Instagram, and now I'm picking up the YouTubes again. So just type in my name, Rico van Huizen, and the same goes for YouTube, and they will find me. That's the most easiest way to see and see the things that I'm doing on a daily basis.
Outstanding. And hey, guys, for the Americans out there, when we hear Huizen, we're going to put an O in there somewhere. It's Huizen, or as the Europeans call it, Zen. I don't know why we change the alphabets across the pond, but we do. But anyway, hey, Rico, thank you so much for being on board today. It has been an honor, and you're welcome back anytime, brother.
Thank you very much, Chris, the Cleveland Oak, and to all the people who are watching. Keep following this man because he is doing a great job. Thank you very much, Chris, for your service to the world.
Thank you, brother. You have no idea how much that means to me. Thank you.
Sure. Cheers, man.
Cheers.